America. The USA has just had its debt downgraded. And what does that mean? And what does this mean for the future of money? You see, right now, as you, of course, well know, the USA, they're the big dog, big cheese. They have the global reserve currency currently. And while some people think that's going to last forever, historically, no global reserve currency has lasted forever. Times always change. I'm reminded of the saying that if you want things to stay the same, then things are going to have to change. Because things always change. Change is the only constant in the world. Well, there's a few others too, but you know what? You guys got the point, right? Anyway, US debt downgrade sinks global markets, but economists are not concerned. Why is US debt getting downgraded from, let's go down from AA plus to, from AAA down to AA plus. That's it. From AAA down to AA plus. So a bit of a downgrade there from the ratings agencies. And look, ratings agencies are kind of a scam anyway, to be fair, but nevertheless, Fitch has downgraded them. Meanwhile, you're seeing that the United States, the debt, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's criminal. It's not just unbelievable, it's criminal what they are doing. You have to understand this. The United States national debt is up by $1.8 trillion since the debt ceiling crisis. That was only like a month ago, 6 weeks ago. It took the USA 209 years to add that first 1.8 trillion in debt. And just over the last few weeks, they've added another $1.8 trillion. They don't have that money. It's all going on the credit card. The interest on that credit card, it ain't pretty. The US right now is on course to spend about $1 trillion per year in interest payments. Interest payments. We're not talking about paying down the 33 or almost $34 trillion in principal, just interest payments. And in order to keep paying those unsustainably high interest payments, what are they going to do? They're going to have to print more money. It's always the answer, isn't it? Printing more freaking money. And what does that do? That debases the US dollar even further at a time of unprecedented monetary competition globally. Now, look, I don't, sit around here and wish, the US dollar standard needs to go and the US dollar needs to crash. No. I think it's seeing such dysfunction means that a lot of people are going to suffer really terribly. We should not celebrate this happening. And look, the USA has abused their position as the reserve currency by weaponizing the dollar and so on and so forth. And that's a whole big conversation we can get into that goes beyond the scope of what I want to talk with you about today. But the reality is things change. And the US dollar is the top dog right now. It might be the top dog for some more time to come. But times they are a-changing, my friends. And with change comes new opportunities, of course. And it's interesting because those new opportunities, whether it be for Bitcoin or BRICS or whatever else, you have all this stuff that lines up, right? All this debt that's on the USA right now, the credit rating being downgraded. And if the situation continues as is, they might see another credit rating downgrade. The USA getting their credit downgraded. It's nuts. The only solution is to print. That creates more inflation. That creates more economic pain for regular people. That creates more problems for those holding US dollars internationally. See, this is another thing working against the US dollars. All those central banks around the world, all those corporations around the world, they all have to hold US dollars, but they have no control over how rapidly the United States debases their currency. Now, look, when they do like 2% per year inflation of the monetary supply, for example, nobody really gets too excited about it. When they do what they did during the last few years and they print like trillions upon trillions of dollars, people notice. It hits the bottom line real quick. And while it's great for US corporations and US banks who get to front run the rest of the world looks at that and goes, that's not great. Why are we stuck using the US dollar? And as we see more and more countries opening up to alternatives, it creates more problems for the US dollars. But again, lots of opportunity here for non-US dollar holders. And of course, it's a global phenomenon of when we talk about cryptocurrencies, for example, we talk about Bitcoin, stable coins, all that stuff. This interesting story I came across the other day from Patrick McCory. He said, I asked the following question at meetups in Kenya and Nigeria. Who gets paid in crypto? 80% of people raise their hand. Who gets paid in local currency? 5% of people raise their hand. That's crazy. Who prefers crypto, BTC, ETH over stablecoins? Only 2 to 5 people raise their hand, which is quite interesting, actually. And I understand volatility, right? People want to lock in some kind of temporary, at least, stability. Yeah, the dollar and all fiat currencies slowly go down over time, but at least it's not like 30, 40, 50% overnight volatility, right? And he asked who prefers stablecoins. 95% of people raised their hands. Stablecoins, in a big way, are like the killer application for crypto. Cross-border payments, cross-border transfers. And as we see more non-USD denominated stablecoins come online, it opens up even more opportunities, right? USDC issuer Circle, they released a Euro stablecoin. Others have released like yen stable coins, and we'll see more of those being issued out in the future. Interesting. People are looking for alternatives, and they want to be able to use crypto rails to move fiat around, which of course brings us into the whole conversation around CBDCs and all that kind of stuff. And we see cryptocurrency adoption rising all over the world. And this is just an anecdotal story, one I found from the news from just a few days ago, but it gives you the idea of what's happening, because these kind of stories, we've been covering these kind of stories nonstop for a couple of years now. Cryptocurrency payment adoption is increasing in Spain of many places. We see more and more payments being made as more and more regulatory clarity starts to happen around the world. Of course, the EU passed a very big cryptocurrency related bill this year, which had positives and negatives, but at least it was clarity. At least it was clarity, much more than the USA has done. So when you have more clarity, people can feel more comfortable buying, selling, investing, using, building, creating. And that's what's happening. Surprise. And of course, we have people, countries all over the world, also fleeing from their crap fiat currencies. How many times have we covered what was happening in Lebanon? We've covered what's happening in Venezuela. We've covered what's happening in Argentina and a dozen other basket case currencies. Over the last few years on this channel, we've covered all these big stories about monetary complete terminal collapse of certain fiat currencies. It's heartbreaking stuff, man. It gives me no pleasure talking about these kind of things when you see fiat collapse happening. And it just makes me happy that there are at least alternatives now, and people are waking up all over the world. Cryptocurrencies are literally empowering people in countries, whether it be on the continent of Africa or in Southeast Asia or in Latin America, wherever we're talking about. A lot of these smaller developing countries, you might live in one of those countries, and there's capital controls. It's hard for you to get cash. It's hard for you to send money overseas. It's hard for you to get paid for your work, right? I've got a big team of writers that work for me, and I pay almost everybody in Bitcoin. A couple people take bank transfers, and that's fine, but most of my writers are actually paid in Bitcoin or stable coins in some cases. And it allows me to send payments all over the world almost instantaneously. Whereas when you send a bank transfer, it's like, where'd it go? I don't know. Oh, there's an intermediary bank that took $10. Why isn't that not? Why am I not told that when I'm sending this transfer? Why don't you say, hey, we're going to have to add another $12 in fees or $15 in fees on top of this because there's a mercenary bank in the middle who's going to rob you a little bit. Are they doing anything? No, it's just passing through the computer system. Does it need to do that? No, not really. It's just our archaic banking system. Cryptocurrency has offered a much better alternative for people all around the world. But as much as I want to see a Bitcoin standard take off and flourish in the world, I'm not so certain that's what we're going to get, unfortunately. Because the big countries largely set the rules. And to be clear, thank goodness we have crypto, because it gives regular people powerful tools for financial independence. Doesn't matter what the big countries are doing. I mean, it does matter what the big countries are doing, but you as an individual, you have financial freedom and sovereignty now thanks to this new technology. You have options that didn't exist before Bitcoin was created. They simply did not exist. And in the last 5 years, the number of options that have become available to regular people all around the world, doesn't matter what country you live in, doesn't matter what your ethnicity, your religion, any of this stuff, you have options. You have more economic freedom than ever before, thanks to cryptocurrencies. And while in the West, we look at crypto as like, that's a fun toy to invest in. people in other areas are looking at it as this is something that's going to allow me to run my business, to receive payments, to be a freelancer, whatever it might be. But then there's the BRICS currency. And this is, the BRICS currency. I have so many feelings about this that it's going to be old boss, old boss, same as the new boss sort of deal. You know, if they back it by gold, which has been rumored, or a basket of commodities, it's also rumored that's being backed by like gold and silver and oil and natural gas, wheat, something like that, for example. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like, which BRICS members will actually implement this. But the conversations are there. It's being had. There's a big BRICS meeting happening in South Africa. Will we see some big announcements around this? Now, the BRICS group is about to expand. They're going to announce new members in South Africa. There's about 10 countries or so that have formally applied, maybe more. Big countries, 2 big countries. Whether we're talking about Saudi Arabia or Iran or wherever else. A lot of places. So at some point, the BRICS group already almost accounts for half of the global population, or maybe slightly more. I don't remember the exact numbers. A huge percentage of the global GDP. They control a gigantic percentage of the world's key natural resources: lumber, food, iron, gas, oil, manufacturing bases, all this kind of stuff. And when they add these 10 new countries on, the BRICS group suddenly becomes the dominant global player. They have the biggest GDP as a combined group. They have the biggest population. They have the fastest growing economies. They control basically all the resources, or at least enough of the resources that they can do whatever they want with the prices of those resources. If you think that OPEC has been a powerful organization in terms of dictating the price of oil, wait until BRICS starts dictating the price of everything. Maybe I'm wrong on all this, but the BRICS monetary union could be a very, very big world-changing event. Again, nothing happens overnight. It's not like they make an announcement, you wake up on Tuesday, and it's like, oh my gosh, the world's changed. No. It'll change over time. And of course, we'll see more settlement in local currencies, which is going to be enabled by technological advances as we see more countries moving towards central bank digital currencies. You see, when you have central bank digital currencies, this need for intermediary banks and stuff largely goes away. You're going to have the ability to very easily move money very quickly through Forex transactions, all on, well, some kind of probably closed chain system, some kind of database, but it's going to be really, really big in terms of allowing for more country to country transactions in local currencies without needing to go into the old Uncle Sam dollar. Technological innovations are also going to blockbuster the US dollar. Now, of course, the US dollar also wants to upgrade and have its own CBDC and stuff like that, but you have to really, really, really ask yourself the hard questions. What role does the US dollar play if other countries simply don't need it, or they have alternatives? They're using the yuan more, or they are using gold-backed CBDCs from the BRICS Bank. Now, I want to. I know we're going to get to comments, of course, later in the conversation, but there's a good comment here made by me. It just reminds me of something I was watching the other day. He said, "No real gold. Think of John McAfee. He died poor, but his story is amazing." And yes, he ran from the gold sector. It's interesting. I saw something about John McAfee the other day, and it made me miss John. I know what man. God broke the mold when he made that guy, didn't he? Holy cow, John McAfee, man, what a character. If you weren't here back in 2017, John McAfee, of course, the creator of the McAfee antivirus software, he was pretty big in the crypto space and died in very mysterious circumstances. Of course, a guy who literally had a tattoo on his body that "I will not kill myself" ended up killing himself in a Spanish prison where the security cameras magically stopped working or the footage disappeared or something like that. You do have to wonder about this stuff. I miss John. He was a character, man. He was always an entertainer, old John McAfee. So hope you're resting in peace, man. Holy cow. What a dude. Anyway, slight aside there from the main conversation. CBDCs are coming, obviously. And They're not great. They're not great. Again, I'm so happy that we have cryptocurrency. I'm so happy we have Bitcoin and all this stuff because CBDCs are not your friends. They're not. They're not here for you. They're not good. There's nothing positive about CBDCs. And they're going to present them as, oh, they're more convenient. Oh, they're better for the environment, probably, right? And so if you're they're going to be the best thing since sliced bread. And yet it's programmable money. And we know what programmable money can do because we use programmable money all the time when we use cryptocurrencies, except that when governments do it, they're going to do all the scary stuff. Being able to turn off your account, set your money so it expires after 90 days. So you either have to put your money into government bonds or it disappears. You can't just save it in your bank account. Now, you may not think that that's going to happen straight away. You may not think it's going to happen at all. My question to you would be, look at the history of what governments have done and ask yourself if you really believe that they wouldn't do it. Because my guess is that they're probably going to. And then, of course, we have stuff like Elon Musk's X app, which he wants to do everything in the financial world on his X app, right? He wants to allow for crypto transactions and stock trading, apparently, potentially, all this kind of stuff. Interesting. How do new money applications also fit into this wider picture? Because Elon Musk is building the X app within the boundaries of probably what's actually going to be allowed by financial regulators. And that's where we see CBDCs fit in and all this sort of stuff. And so I'm excited about the X app. I think it's going to be fun, but it's not necessarily a revolution or a game changer in terms of global money. CBDCs, they're scary. They freak me out. BRICS currency, like I said, new boss, same as the old boss. Not that big of a deal. Interesting if they back it with gold. Interesting. Don't know how it's going to play out, but interesting. It's, it's at least it's something new, something beyond just infinite money printing whenever the powers that be in America decide they want to print some more money. And then there's Bitcoin, the shining money on the hill, our real chance at economic and monetary freedom. It's there for us. Just to reach out and take it before BlackRock does, because they're coming for your coins.